I'm gonna make an offer you can't refuse. On a board game, the Godfather, Corleone's Empire. That's what we're talking about today. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Dice Matrix. My name is E.T., and I'm so glad that you're here to join me today as I'm talking about this exciting game that I had a chance to look at and play and get my thoughts and insights. I just wanted to share with you some things about it today. A lot of interesting things. I'm a big fan of Blood Rage. As you can see, it's over here on my shelf, and it's got the same designer, Eric Lang. And when you play this game, you kind of have a feel of some of the mechanics of the game, but in the overall picture, it's totally different. But I enjoyed it greatly. Let me show you some of the stuff. So, the first thing I want to do is talk about, and this isn't going to be like a tutorial of how to play, but you might pick up a lot of things on the basics. I'm going to give you the gist of what's going on. But I want to show you some of the cool things about like what's in the box and what's going on here. The first thing is this thing has a really nice rule book. The rule book is has beautiful artwork in it. It's very clean and clear to understand, written very well. Probably bigger than it needed to be, but I appreciated the pictures it had in it. As you can see, the examples I'm throwing up, it has beautiful artwork of the illustration. It really gives you a throwback to the feel of the time of when The Godfather was. And I guess this is a direct reference more to the movie, from my understanding. But anyway, as you can see, the rulebook is fantastic. I'd like to jump over to the game board and talk about it. The artwork also outstanding on this. Some people have described it as drab, but I got a feeling of like I could really feel it. It was visceral. It was very like gritty, and I could just like taste, the atmosphere. Like I was actually breathing the air in the city, and I just really loved the look of it. Each part of the city is divided up into 7 turfs. And this is important for the game because as you start placing your characters, your family members, and thugs out onto the board, you're going to try to take control of different turfs. And there's 7 turfs. They're numbered, oddly enough, 1 through 7. And each one will have a place where they have businesses. Some of them will be preset on the businesses, and there will be other areas on the board that have blank spots for the businesses to be opened up. So during the game, as the game progresses in an acts, there's 4 acts into the game, it will open up a new business each time. So there'll be 4 new businesses by the time the end of the game. And really interesting how the board expands and the way that the influence of the characters on the board determine who has what going on based upon their position. So when you get control of an area, you get to place a control marker into an area if you have the most influence with characters in that area. And as time goes on, that can influence what happens when somebody goes to one of the businesses to shake it down. And you also get a bonus, and if an opponent or enemy Don's family comes in there. So very, very interesting. The board, like I said, is fantastic. I'd like to talk about the components. There's 34 figures. I'm going to flash up some stuff here, the pictures on them. There's, of course, there's 5 families that they have with the different colors on the base. You get in there in the 5 families. Each family has 3 thugs and 3 family members. The 3 family members are the Don, the Consigliere, and the Heir. They're all pretty cool looking. A little smaller than I thought, but they work fantastically perfect for the size of the board. As you can look and see the detail on these, they're very interesting. Also, some of the other figures in there are the neutral figures that don't belong to any particular family, which are the police chief, the union boss, and the mayor. And they're considered allies, and you can kind of control these figures as neutral entities during the game, and they'll be released as the different acts play out. Really, really interesting. I also want to mention for the control markers, there are 48 control tokens, but they're divided. Each player gets, I believe, 9 of them, I think, and something like that. Well, maybe there's 45 then. Well, 48 or 45, but either way, each player has like 9 control tokens, and if you happen to run out of control tokens, you can choose to take one from another area, a turf, and put it in that area if you think that's advantageous, because at the end of the game, that'll make a difference for bonus money / points, because it's all at the end who's the richest person. Your goal in this game is to become the next Don, because The Godfather, he's getting old. Don Corleone, he's like, ready to, in the river. But anyway, let's move on. Let's see here. The tiles. The business tiles that you put out that I mentioned at the end of the beginning of each act. Pretty cool. There's blue businesses and red businesses, and they on each spot, of the acts, it will tell you which color that you put in to the space on the city map of where it goes. And then in the first two acts there'll be blue businesses, and the last two acts there'll be red businesses, and the red kind of give you a little kick or a little bit extra stuff, it seems like, because it kind of progresses and builds up in the game. The interesting thing about the tiles is if you go to it, if you notice on the tile, it has a spot for a thug to go. And if you put your thug on that, it will get that ability on the tile, whether it's money or an illegal goods card or a special, ability or something. But whatever happens on that is the thing that's triggered that you will get something out of that. And basically you're collecting these resources to the illegal goods and whatnot to do missions / in this game they're called jobs. And that's a pretty important thing. But it's fantastic. The tiles are just really nice random elements. You never know how they're going to come out, or if all of them will come out during the game, depending on the number of players that you play. The business tiles, let's see, you also have the 44 job cards. And there's, I think, 4 different colors. They have like yellow, green, blue, and gray. But there's basically, only so many of each one. So there's basically 10 different types of jobs you can run into in the game. And three of each of the colors, except for one in blue. I believe that's called Shakedown. The jobs, we'll pull up a closer look at one of the cards here. And if you pay in the top left of the card, looking at it, it'll say like, you got to spend 3 guns to do this job, and then your reward will be down below. And you can choose which order that you do them, is like getting the cash reward, like getting 2 $3 bills or a $5 bill or whatever it happens to say. And then, then it does what it does for, taking on, shaking down the front of a business or doing something else. There's a lot of different abilities that each card has, but when you pay the cost on it, you'll get the ability below. And you can choose what order it goes, because sometimes it makes a difference if you get your money first based upon what the extra ability says. But there's cool jobs in this game, like gunning down the other characters and putting them in the Hudson River. It's pretty fun and thematic. I really like it. But anyway, those are the job cards in the game. There's also the goods I described about. I'm going to flash up some pictures of that. There's 32 illegal goods. You got the guns, the blood money, the booze, and narcotics. And basically, as I showed you before, you need those items to complete the jobs in the game. So you're placing your figures to get these things, and you got to spend these goods to do the jobs, to get the bonuses, to do more things. Because placing your characters will do things, but they will actually do more things, with the jobs. That's how you can really ramp up in the game. Now, the narcotics is interesting because it's considered like a wild card. They don't usually show up till later in the game, but when you get if you get a narcotics card, you can use it for anything. And in fact, you can use multiple ones. If you happen to have 3 narcotics cards, and then you need I need a gun, a blood money, and a booze, you can just use 3 narcotic cards, or for whatever you're missing. Like I said, it's just a wild card. And it's done really well. Just a nice, simple, simplistic art on that. But I find it good. It doesn't bog down the game. I'm glad they didn't go too crazy on that aspect of it. We also have the money cards, which are the money bills, is considered a $1 bill, a $2 bill, a $3 bill, and a $5 bill. There's no 4. Interesting note in this game is you don't make change. So like if you run out of something, $3 bills, then you don't really get another $3 bill. I think I need to check the rules, but I think that you get to grab another, like a one lower than whatever the bill that you were going to get, like a $2 bill. But let's say you're owed $5 for doing a job. If there's no $5 bills left, then you can't take a 3 and a 2 to make that up. You can only take what's there. So let's say if you're owed 2 $3 bills, and there's one left, you can take the one, but you can't take a 2 and a 1 to make up the other 3. It's just kind of like, tough nuggets on the game. So, but you have to pay attention. You would look over and notice that the bills are low. So it is either advantageous or not advantageous for you to do that. So you're the one who have to make those decisions. But, when you play games, you probably should pay a little bit of attention anyway. Also, you get these cool suitcases. Now, these suitcases are like made of little metal tins, and they just pop right open. It's kind of like double-sized, the old Vicks box that you could pull out the little Vic Mints out of, and they're pretty neat. That you use that to stash your money inside and your mission inside, because when you complete missions or you get to put money inside your suitcase, that's like the permanent part. Once it's in there, unless there's one special card that maybe can make you get rid of some of that stuff, but pretty much other than that, that stuff's going to be what scores the end of the game. So you need to get that, get your jobs done, put them in the suitcase. You need to get your money put in the suitcase, because at the end of each phase, you have the paying tribute to the Dawn phase, and you have to discard down to so many cards, and you have to make the decision of what you're keeping in your hand, because the backside of all the cards look exactly the same. So the goods and the missions and the money, they all have the same Godfather logo on the back side of the card. And so that makes it interesting, because if someone's not paying attention, all they see is the back side of your cards, and they don't know exactly what you have. Although you do have to present money before you put it in your suitcase. So I thought that was interesting. So it wasn't like you can just smuggle something in. You have to actually show them what they're going in. So at least, you have that recognition of keeping track of what your opponents are doing. I'm quickly going to go over the game flow, the pacing of the game, which is the first thing you're going to do after the setup is you're going to, you get to open a new business. So basically you're taking one of the new business tiles that I showed you earlier, and you're going to put it in the first available empty spot numerically in the turfs, wherever that is. And then that will be an extra place for one of your thugs to go. Then the next phase is called family business, which is where most of the game takes place, because you're trying to decide what you're doing. And basically you can play a thug, which is place him on a business, which shakes down the front side of the business to get that reward, or you can place a family member on one of the circles, which usually covers 2 or 3 turfs, and that gets to shake down every backside business in those turfs, which you can end up with a lot of cards sometimes, especially if you end up getting the first player token in the game, and then you go to one of the turfs that has like 4 items, so you can end up with extra jobs, a couple extra guns. I mean, it ramps up pretty quick. So anyway, you can play a family member, you can play a thug, you can play an ally card. There's a part in the game called bribery we'll get to in phase, where you can acquire allies, and if you play an ally card, it'll just do something for you. You have a special ability on it that normally you can't do in the game, or an extra ability that you could do but you can do without placing a character out there or doing a job. Or you can control, if you get the police chief, the union boss, or the mayor, they will have special abilities, and depending on the different acts, people can kind of move that character around into different turfs or do different things, and it gets pretty interesting. Now those characters, don't forget, the allies are neutral characters, so they don't count as controlling. They don't gain control of a marker, but they can keep someone from getting control. So if someone looks like they have a thug in a turf, and then one family member connected to that turf, they have an influence of 2. Well, if there's 2 neutral characters in there, the police chief and the mayor also, then they tie you as a neutral entity, and they block you from being able to put a control marker in that area, which is very interesting. I like that part of the game. That could be another strategy of how it ramps up at the end. For end bonuses, by the way. The last thing you can do, or third in the book, but last that I'm mentioning to you out of the 4 things you can choose, is to complete a job, which is, do the job card and get paid for it. So, and that goes right in your box. And the more jobs you get at the end, it gives you a chance to get bonuses. Then you move into the next phase, which is the turf war. And basically that's just, adding up the influence of all the characters and each turf mathematically 1 through 7, and then you go through, and whoever has the most influence in that area, you place a control token on top of it, and the markers stack really nice. They're octagonal, and they go on top of each other. And whoever has the current one on top is considered in control of it. But at the end of the game, there's a bonus reward phase for whoever has the most control in it would get some money for that. And if they're tied, then it's the person like on top that would get that bonus. So that's an interesting That's an interesting thing. I like that. That makes you really look at not only what you're doing to try to do stuff, to place stuff on the board, to do what you're doing at the time, but then you start thinking, man, I'm not really controlling any areas. But by placing people out, you're going to have some influence somewhere, right? So it's a very well balanced thing. The next phase that we move to is the bribery phase, where the ally, which comes out at the beginning, or multiple allies, it depends on how many people are playing in the game with you, whether it's 2, 3, 4, or 5, and everybody opens their suitcase and then secretly puts money in the top of their tin can. You can put nothing up there if you want, and everybody's basically bidding for that ally. And so what happens is everybody reveals it at once when they're ready, and then whoever has the most money and then goes on down, so gets to choose allies until there's no allies left. Now, if there's no allies left, then that person who at the end didn't get one because there's none left. But all because they had the lowest bid. But also in the case of a tie, you would go with the person in bidding order, because the horse token lets you know who actually is currently in the order. Like, you can actually take that in the middle of the game, and even though the round started with someone else being the first player now changed, so when you get to bidding order, it could really mix it up a little bit. If I'm slightly confused on that, feel free to write below, because I am not beyond error. That's one of my favorite sayings. But anyway, the bribery phase lets you try to get allies to do really cool things. Then you have to do, of course, tribute to the Don, which is paying him stuff. So if you have an excess of cards at the end of each act, like if the end of the first couple of acts, if you have more than like 5 cards in your hand, you have to discard down to 5 cards. So you have to make a decision. And I found out it's kind of a tough decision sometimes to figure out what you want to do, because you want to keep almost all your cards. It's really, really interesting and fantastic, a bit where you have to like manage your hand. I love games that have some sort of a hand management system to them, and this does give you the feel of the hand management system. It does slightly, because you need to know when you're going to do something. Do I have time to do it this turn, or can I wait till the next act to do it? By the way, during these other actions you can take, if you don't have any of your figures left, not a neutral figure that you can kind of control, but any of your figures left, then you're done with your family business phase. You can't take any more action. So if there's a job you want to complete that turn, that act, you better complete it before you place your last figure on the board somewhere, because you're done and it's just up to everybody else to finish out. I mean, you'll still be in your hand if you save it, if you don't discard it, but you have to just kind of be alert on that. And then basically you have the entract phase, which is like not really, it's just a cleanup phase, and where you pull all everybody gets all their characters back, even the ones that's been killed. Take out the Hudson, you get all your thugs and family members back that you had used, and then you refill the open job area, because there's an open job area where you can try to, if you didn't get a job card that you wanted, you might be able to purchase some out from the common area, and you refill anything that's been empty like that, and then you put in the new ally as well. So that's kind of like a little cleanup phase to reset it for the next act, and then you move your little police car back to the start point, where it shows the actions you're going to go through, and start back over to open a new business, and then you're going to move Don Corleone down to Act 2, or the next act wherever you're at from, and continue on until you finally get to the end. And then the end game, you get all these bonuses based upon influence and what you have in your tin can there, your tin suitcase. And if you happen to have the most money at the end, you win the game. You will be the next Don, the next Godfather, I assume. Maybe they'll make a game about that guy that won. I don't know. Hey guys, I want to thank all of you for your support, especially just the views, and even it just makes a big deal. And one of my favorite people that I've subscribed to that supports me, I want to say encourages me emotionally and to continue on. His name is Pierre, and he has a channel called Le Gaming Dude. And I am going to put a link to his YouTube page on here. He's an excellent painter, very artistic, and he loves to talk about games, and he kind of helps influence me. I love watching his channel. So if you get a chance, go over and visit Le Gaming Dude, his channel. Like I said, his link will be in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and if you've enjoyed any of my content anywhere, please like and subscribe. It means so much. Have a beautiful day, and thank you for being a part of mine.